We're really pleased so many people are attending. Just before I hand over to Paola, who will introduce all the different speakers and presenters this evening, I'll just go through a few things. ALL West Midlands started last summer, just before last summer. We started talking about it because we could see there was a big hole in the middle of the Midlands, and there wasn't really anything that represented the West Midlands. There were the hubs, but nothing big. And we thought, Birmingham's the second city in the UK, and there should be something in the West Midlands, or even in the Midlands was doing something, but the West Midlands. So here we are. There's just a few of us, and we've started. So there's our team, and I think you're all here. I don't know, I haven't seen Lee. Is Lee here? I've seen everyone else. So just a few things for those of you who are not a member of ALL. There's a few reminders. It's a major professional association for teachers of languages at all levels and in all sectors, run by teachers for teachers, and completely independent. Our sole purpose is to support and represent language teachers. And this is a little bit about what ALL do. It represents the interests of its members, provides information and support, contributes to national debates, produces regular publications such as Language World, Languages Today magazine and journals. And they run training courses tailored to teachers' needs, and runs the annual Language World conference, which is coming up quite shortly. And for those who are not members, is there anybody who's not a member here? Okay. I think probably everyone is, so I'm probably talking to the converted, but anyway. So it's to be well informed, up to date with news and developments from the world of languages through our magazine, journals, and weekly e-newsletter. To be networked, part of the national community of language teachers in the UK, providing support and encouragement. To be adaptable, discovering and applying new teaching methods, resources, and technologies from other teachers eager to share their practice. To be proactive, taking control of your own professional development and taking advantage of the many training events on offer. And to be motivated with regular boosts of ideas and inspiration, keeping you on the top of your game and reminding you why you became a teacher. And what do members get? Regular issues of Languages Today magazine. I think we recently got the latest edition. Copies of ALLnet, our weekly e-newsletter. Online access to our members area and electronic issues of our journals. Discounted or free training courses around the country, tailored to your needs. Great special offers from our corporate members, and big discounts on delegate fees for our annual conference, Language World. And this is different ways you can join, is online, by telephone, by email, or by post. And it is very easy to become a member.
Thank you, Helen. That's fantastic. Just like it shows on the slide, there's also the Language World Conference, and if you join now, you get a 10% off. We are going to get started with our lovely presenters. First, we have Joe Dale, who I'm sure the vast majority of you have heard in webinars before. He's absolutely amazing. He's an independent languages consultant from the UK, but he's very well renowned internationally. He's spoken in conferences all across Europe, North America, South America. So we are going to pass it over to Joe. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you ever so much. I will quickly share my screen. Oh, no, hang on. Oh, right. Yeah, I will quickly share my screen. There we are. And I'm going on this one. That's fine. Share sound, share and present. Okay, so I'm going to talk for about 8 minutes, 10 minutes or so about digital praise postcards using Quicker and Vocaroo. Thank you again to AWL West Midlands for allowing me to speak at your show and tell. My Twitter handle is there and my email address is there as well. I'm going to share my whole presentation with you as well, but this is going to be very practical and hands-on. This is what I'm going to try and do in the next 10 minutes. I got this Bitmoji from the Chrome extension. I thought it was perfect for praise postcards. The idea of a praise postcard is that you send an image or a PDF to the students or to a teacher, if you prefer, and you include with that a QR code which has an audio recording. So it means that the children, if they're feeling a bit lonely or isolated, they can hear your voice praising their work. That's the whole point of a praise postcard, and I think it's perfect for this current situation. Okay, so this is what it is. This is based on the work of Mr. El Peachy. I always think it's very important to give credit to people who have come up with these fantastic ideas. If I just click on this link here, I was inspired by Karine Longman, who is based at the International School of Monaco. She did a keynote presentation around how you can create digital praise postcards using Keynote. I then had a chat with her on Twitter, suggesting wouldn't it be a good idea if she had the templates for PowerPoint and for Google Slides as well as Keynote, and she very kindly made those presentations. But you can see here that she is also recognizing Mr. El Peachy for creating this original idea. So there we are. So I've done that as I should have done. That's right. And so you'll see here as well that I've got lots of links here. The first two refer to the different templates that I'm referring to right now. One is for the name, one is for the student praise postcard, and the other one is for the teacher praise postcard. And I've also created what's called a hard copy for each one, which means if you click on the that link, it will automatically allow you to make a copy of the praise postcard, so you can then use it straight away within your teaching. And then the bottom link there is a tweet from Ranga the trainer, Darren White, who has created another type of praise postcard using Moat. If you haven't heard of Moat, it's amazing, and it's a Chrome extension which also allows you to insert audio. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to create one live. So let's imagine we've got the name of the student. So let's call the student Joe Dale. There we are. Here, as you can see, it says paste quicker feedback or Vocaroo. So the original sort of background image is from Mr. El Peachy, and I've sort of just customized it a little bit here, put a bit of a Bitmoji there, what have you. So first of all, Quicker. Let's go to Quicker. You need to have an account for this. It's free to use. You click create instant feedback. You then record your audio. You click here for an individual piece of audio with a quicker QR code, or here if you want to do a conversation, which is not what we're doing today. We're doing it. Click on the individual option. You then record your voice like this. This is an example of a digital praise postcard. Well done, Joe, for fantastic work at the moment. Stop. Right, it uploads onto servers in the UK, so that's really nice from a safety point of view. You can add other things like text and web links, but we just want to have the audio. So I click on View Your Quicker. There it is. I can then turn that link into a QR code. There's various ways of doing that. You can, for example, click here, which is the QR code extension, which is a Chrome extension, which I have. I could then right-click. I could then click Edit this QR code, and I could download it from there once it comes up. In a second, there we are. I can then right-click that and click Save Image As, which is what I'll do right now. There we are. That's saved, and then from there, I can go back to my praise postcard, and I can drag and drop that there, and there it is. I can then put that over the top and obviously delete the background box to change it if I wanted to. Another way of doing this is to use Vocaroo, and I can do this. This is an example of a praise postcard. Well done, Joe. Great work. Keep it up. Right, I've recorded that. Save and share. QR code. Save QR code. There we are. Go back to my praise postcard. and I can then again drag and drop that over there, and there it is. And I just resize it to the size that I want, like that. So let's get rid of the background image. Let's get rid of that one, and then make that a bit bigger. There we are. So really, really simple. And then either you could click File, download it as an image or as a PDF. So if it was a PDF, for example, you would do this, make it into a PDF. You could then send it as a PDF or upload it to Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or what have you, or you could put it to Google Drive and then just share it via the link. And that's essentially what I wanted to say. So that you've got, just to be very clear, you've got all the links here. The first two are just for like the view only version of what I've just shown you. The next two are the hard copy versions. You just click on the individual links. And then, in fact, let me just show you. If I click on this one here, as you can see, this comes up. It's called making a forced copy. So you just click on make a copy and that's it. And then the last two are the links to Ranga the Trainer and Karine Longman. And then just literally before I started, literally about 3 minutes ago, or whatever it was, 5 minutes ago, Frau von Ron, who is a trainee teacher, literally tweeted this. So I thought I would use the print screen button, which launches the snip and sketch Windows 10 snipping tool, which is incredibly good. I've talked about it on other Tilt webinars, but I was able to take a quick screen grab, put it onto my slide, and there we are. So I just thought that was really lovely. I've probably done that in about 5 minutes, but hopefully it's given you enough information on how to do this. And then you simply go to there, and I'll just put the little URL in the chat, is.gd/ALL West Mids. And there we are. So why not today send a student a praise postcard, or someone in the MFL Twitterati send the teacher equivalent, which is the link underneath. Thank you again to AWL West Midlands for this opportunity, and enjoy the rest of the session. I'm going to be here the whole time writing lots of comments in the chat, no doubt, but thanks again and enjoy the rest of the session. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Joe. That was absolutely fantastic. What a great way to recognize the students' achievements. That was absolutely brilliant. Now we're going to hear from Miss Eaton. Vicky is a teacher of languages in Coventry with 12 years of experience. She is a fan of research-based practice, and she's the co-founder of the Coventry City of Languages, which we're going to find out more about today, and I can't wait. Vicky, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Just going to quickly share my screen. That's the one. Okay, I am going to do this quite quickly. I have quite a lot to say on this topic, but I promise you I'll be as quick as I can. I could talk all day. If you've got any questions, just pop them in the chat. I'm going to talk to you then about vocabulary and cultural capital. So I've popped on to start with then a quick quote from Ofsted. Okay, so Ofsted acknowledges the importance of knowledge and cultural capital. So obviously it's something that they're looking at the moment. This is quite a new thing that they've added. Why should we worry about it though? I mean, it's very well saying that Ofsted say that we should do it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's that important. Why should we be worrying about cultural capital and vocabulary though? According to Bourdieu, if you don't know too much about cultural capital, there are 3 types of cultural capital. There's embodied cultural capital, which is all about language, including non-verbal language. There is objectified cultural capital, which is all about things that you'd probably consider a cultural capital generally, things like goods, books, art. And then there's institutional cultural capital, which is your qualifications and your learning. In basic terms, cultural capital is a broad curriculum plus traditional cultural activities such as trips, theatre, things like that, plus language. Okay, and language and vocabulary cannot be separated from each other, and then they also cannot be separated from culture. They are inextricably linked. Furthermore, and more importantly, from where I come from, it is a moral duty to promote social mobility. I think at the moment we're failing a large section of society. The Sutton Trust have said that if you're privately educated, you're 5 times more likely to end up working in a top job than somebody who isn't privately educated. And obviously social mobility is very important at the moment with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, the extended time we've got off school at the moment. The gaps are widening, and this is something that's key. It's absolutely crucial to bridging the gap. Furthermore, you'll probably realise this already being teachers, but there's limitations in examinations. If you don't have cultural capital and a vocabulary rich curriculum, even your brightest students are going to struggle in examinations to get those top grades. Examples are really, really easy to come up with. I know that in my school, a science teacher was saying that students knew all about burning, but they didn't understand the word ignite. Therefore, they couldn't access the question to get the marks. And the same goes for maths. There was a maths question talking about the circle in a theatre. And so all the students immediately got out a protractor and a compass because they thought circle meant the shape. They didn't understand, they didn't have the cultural capital and the vocabulary to understand that circle in a theatre means something very different to circle in maths. In languages, we can see it really, really clearly. Things like things that some people would say are cognates just aren't cognates for our students. The verb castigar in Spanish, if you don't know that castigate means punish in English, that's not a cognate for you. Another one, fatiguer in French. If you don't know that fatigue means tired in English, you're not going to understand what that word means. So super important for MFL. And actually, I believe that as MFL teachers, we're in the best place to tackle this with our expertise. If you go to any department in your school and ask them how they teach vocabulary, they won't know. We know this, we know how to do this because we do it all the time. So actually in our schools, we're a really, really valuable resource for this. And obviously it helps us too. Smarter students with a wider vocabulary and better cultural capital are going to do better in our subject as well. I have put the name of a couple of bits of research. The delay in Burt is from 73, so it's quite an old one. The Cordner and Crashen is a bit more recent. I'm not going to talk about them now, but they are, you can go away and have a look at them later on. So how then? How do we do this? How do we create this vocab-rich curriculum and cultural capital? It has to be joined up thinking. It can't be anything other than a whole school to departmental intent. You've probably done a lot of intent writing with the 3 I's from Ofsted recently. The whole school one has to be the starting point. You can't start in departments and move up. It has to be the other way around. Who's putting what vocabulary where? When is it revisited? It's important to understand the power of multiple exposures to vocabulary across different contexts. Hearing a word in one subject and then hearing it again in another subject creates connections in the brain, which supports long-term memory and understanding. Alex Quigley then is a really, really good place to start if you've read his book, Closing the Vocabulary Gap. He is based on English teaching, but actually it doesn't matter. It's applicable to all, and his SEEK model shows a really, really good whole school approach to teaching vocabulary explicitly. Obviously, as linguists, we know that it's got to be implicit too, but it has to be both. It has to be both. And finally, Avril Coxhead is a great place to start. She is from New Zealand, and she's come up with a 570-word list of the most important word families that are tier 2 language. If you're not certain what that means, tier 1 are your basic words that you learn at a very young age, things like table, chair, door, happy, things like that. Tier 2 words are academic words, but that can be used in different contexts. And then tier 3 words are your highly academic single-use words, so that you wouldn't use in different contexts. They'd just be used for the one academic thing you're looking at. So those are good places to start. More importantly for everybody in here, I should imagine, is what does this look like in MFL? So I'm just going to remind you, we've got the 3 different types of cultural capital. And remember, with the embodied cultural capital, that's where the vocabulary and language sits. So for embodied, it's language in the curriculum and small changes. I'll show you some examples in a moment. Objectified then, those things that you class as cultural capital, things like virtual trips, excursions, cultural themes. And then institutional again, things like, so that's all about qualification. So making sure you build self-efficacy. If you know Gianfranco Conti, you'll know all about self-efficacy. And also I've put down Latin and classics because I think they are extremely important to help with a vocabulary rich and cultural capital rich curriculum. So to put this into context then, this is an embodied piece of cultural capital. And I've used it here to promote vocab acquisition in language 1. So in English in our case, because that's what the majority of our students speak as a first language. This I gave as a text in year 7, probably about 5 weeks after they'd first started learning Spanish. Okay. Along with the text then, I planned what it was that I wanted to impart to the students. So you'll see again the columns, the tier 1, 2 and 3. Tier 1 here in MFL, I've done words that I know that they know because I've taught them. So things like me llamo and tengo because they've done that already. And also words that are very, very obvious cognates. El hotel, moderno. They're very, very obvious cognates. Tier 2 words then are the things that they are cognates, but they're only cognates if the students in front of me have a rich vocabulary in their first language. So if they see the word sincera, if they know that sincere it means honest, then they'll know what sincera means. But if they don't know the word sincere, then they won't. And then tier 3 words then are the difficult words that I will have to give to pupils in order for them to have 95% comprehensibility in order to achieve learning. And then this is what it looks like when the students do it. So they have the cognate, which is the L2 English word, and then they also have a synonym, which might be an L1, tier 1 word. And obviously it's very important to put it in that chunk into context in a sentence. Okay, another example then of embodied cultural capital, but this time to improve second language. Here I've got a basic grid that goes from grade 4, 5, 7 and 9, or it can do bands, colours, whatever you choose to use, or points. So the red column is -1 point, the next one is +1 point, then +3. And all it is stretching and improving their vocabulary in a very, very easy way. So if you take the top row, for example, en el futuro is fine. But actually, if you said el próximo año, it's a bit nicer. It's even nicer if you say el año que viene, and it's even nicer if you say cuando sea mayor. All the same thing, all the same goal achieved, introducing a future tense, but actually in a much better use of vocabulary. And this was very, very, very popular in my last one. Again, this improves vocabulary in language 1 and language 2. So this is a Klein of vocabulary. I'll pop it in chat because no one can understand the spelling until I write it down. But I think it's quite obvious what it does. You just get students, and you can do either language first to build up from unpleasant, getting more and more and more strong, all the way up to atrocious. And again, we know that adjectives is something that students really struggle with. How many times have you told your students not to use the word interesting, interesante, interesant? How many times have you told them not to use that every single time that they're given an opinion? Okay, so moving on very quickly to objectified cultural capital. You've probably seen some of these already, but I think it's really good in this climate where we can't go abroad, or maybe we have students who are socially immobile at the moment who can't go abroad, to do some things like virtual trips. These are really, really easy to set up. I set them up on PowerPoint, and it gives students the opportunity to experience something that maybe they wouldn't otherwise. The same goes for my virtual classrooms. Again, lots and lots of culture, just things to click on, and to go and take you to places and learn new things, see things they might not have seen before. But it doesn't work unless it's underpinned in the curriculum. So those are nice, those are lovely, those those individual trips or those classrooms, but unless it's underpinning the curriculum, it doesn't work. So we've gone one step further at our school and thought, well, okay, if we're teaching opinions, why don't we teach it through something a bit more cultural? So, oh, let me get rid of that. So instead of teaching opinions about school subjects, we've decided to teach opinions about Frida Kahlo's paintings instead. We've given them the vocab to build that self-efficacy, and it's something else that they know now that they didn't know before. Finally, on the Objectify Cultural Capital, I'm going to give a little plug to a colleague of mine, Paul Seedhouse from Newcastle University, and he's got a couple of websites, Enact and Lingual Cuisine. Enact is all about learning language through culture. So, for example, you might learn Japanese doing origami, and Lingual Cuisine, I think, is quite obvious. That's learning through cooking. Finally, then, I did mention Classics for All already. I think it's important to give them a plug. Check them out if you haven't before, which leads me very nicely on to Coventry City of Languages, which I'm going to hand over to my colleague Anna to do a bit of presentation. I will keep my eye on the chat, so if you've got any questions, just let me know. I know it was quick. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Vicky. That was absolutely brilliant. People were really excited on the chat, sharing lots of ideas. So I can't wait to hear from Anna and Coventry City of Languages.
Sorry, I was too busy just trying to find my presentation and realised that I hadn't got my microphone or anything else on. So, right, let me just share my screen. Is that working? Is that okay? Okay, brilliant. So, okay, so hi everybody. So just to introduce myself, you've met Vicky now, but I was trained to teach secondary. I taught adult education for a while, and about 6.5 years ago, I moved into primary to teach Spanish and French as a specialist teacher. And during that time, I've sort of developed a bit of a passion for early language learning, and I just really believe that we need to get that love of languages at a much earlier age. So you met Vicky. Vicky teaches secondary, and we've sort of kind of become known as the Ant and Dec of MFL, because we always seem to come as a pair, buy one get one free. So we're just going to give you a quick, or I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to start, and then Vicky's going to come back. So we're going to talk about why Coventry City of Languages. Why do we think that we need that initiative? How it came about, our vision, where we are now, and what we are planning for the future. So why Coventry City of Languages? So our story sort of starts probably about 5 years ago now, and I set up an MFL primary hub which was really, as it says, for primary teachers, and we started to talk about transition with the primary teachers that came along, and from there we invited secondary colleagues along. And that's kind of where Vicky and I had our Biker Grove moments. So we were talking about transition. We were talking about that journey right the way through from primary to secondary. And I'm sure we're all the same. We've been worried for the last few years about the impact of Brexit, what's going to happen, MFL teaching and learning, and again, we've all, I'm sure, been frustrated by the value that's been placed on languages in the UK, and we just wanted to do something about it. At this point, I'd sort of been shouting quite loudly and got myself known across the local authority, and I was asked to do a workshop on transition back in March last year. At a conference that the school improvement team and the council were putting together, and we sort of came to meet the school improvement lead, Helen Macefield, in the council. And whilst she's not a language teacher, she's an ex-primary head teacher. She has got a real passion for languages, and particularly early language learning, and she basically came on board. So during lockdown 1, we obviously had a bit too much time on our hands, and Vicky and I sat down and we decided to write the vision for Coventry and what we wanted to see in regards to languages across the city. And Vicky's going to talk a little bit more about that in a little while. And around this time, we stumbled across a website which was called International Newcastle, and they sort of subtitled it Newcastle City of Languages. And we decided that that's what we wanted. So Brexit became quite close. We were starting to worry that we might lose Erasmus. My school did a lot of e-twinning, and we were sort of worried about losing that for opportunities for the children. And I teach in quite a deprived area of Coventry as well. And we decided to get in touch with one of our MPs to talk about sort of MFL, talk about Erasmus and more really, and just sort of let her know what we were trying to do. So she asked us what the criteria was to become a city of languages, and we sort of said, well, there isn't really. We think Newcastle probably just decides to call themselves it. So she suggested that we just start calling ourselves Coventry City of Council and Coventry City of Languages, and maybe everybody would just think that we'd always been a city of languages and would just accept it. So we thought, well, we can sit and moan about this, we can sit and moan about Brexit and things like that, or we can do something about it. So that's what we decided to do. So, sorry, I don't think I've been actually moving my PowerPoint on actually. So we've done the impact of Brexit, the future of MFL, how it came about, lockdown 1. So City of Culture. So you're probably aware that Coventry is the City of Culture for 2021. And we've found it's been a little bit not always sort of easy to sort of get in contact with them. I'd been to a few meetings. We were sort of told at one point that languages were not really culture, which I'm sure we all beg to differ. And really, we just sort of started looking for opportunities to try and get our message out. So with the idea that if you don't ask people, you don't get anything, and that's really sort of paid off, and that's where we are now. And we've discovered that there are so many things that are going on, particularly within Coventry, that we didn't know about as language teachers, and nobody's ever really got together and sort of talked to each other, and that's sort of really what we're trying to do, and sort of that networking has really sort of paid off. So I'm going to pass back over to Vicky, and she is going to talk to you a bit more about our vision.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, sorry, you've got to hear my voice again after that. I do apologise. So we have our vision then. It started off as something a bit different, but it is now a vision of 4 strands. Shall I just keep doing that, Anna?
Yeah.
Thumbs up. So our first strand then is languages in our community, and this is all about celebrating language, celebrating home languages, upskilling people that speak other languages in our city, working actually. We've just got on board with EMAS, if you know who they are, the Ethnic Minority Achievement Support Service. And they're coming in to help us with some of our language in the community work, making people feel proud to speak other languages than English. So that's our first strand. Our next strand is languages in our schools, which is obviously very important, promoting opportunities. Again, this ties in with the cultural capital, promoting all of that. And obviously, as Anna has mentioned already, transition, which is absolutely crucial, but transition for all stages as well, not just transition from primary to secondary, also from secondary to further and further to higher. So we also have the universities working closely with us. Also, our third strand is continuing professional development for teachers. Our biggest bugbear, sometimes, I don't want to offend anybody, is getting senior leadership team to understand. We find that quite tricky sometimes. If an SLT doesn't have a language background, they don't necessarily understand what it means to teach a language. So we want to change that. We want professional development for them so they understand language teaching in the UK. And also upskilling primary school teachers, working with universities and on the PGCE courses. Finally, the fourth strand then is using languages professionally. This is our newest strand. It wasn't there originally, but I think it's got a very well-deserved place. So making contacts with businesses. We've got contacts at the moment with translators, authors, And through the WMG Academy in Coventry, which is a 14 to 18 school of engineering, we are hoping to further those links of languages into the workplace. So I know they have like links with Jaguar Land Rover, sorry, JLR, if you don't come from Coventry, you might not know, Jaguar Land Rover and places like that. Thanks, Anna. So where we are now, everything's blown up in the last month or so. We went from nothing to everything really, really quickly. So we're in the process now of creating a steering group. We're gathering support. So far, we've got the cultural institutes on side. So we've got the Goethe Institute, the Institut Français, and the Cervantes, Institute of Cervantes with us. We've got the universities, Warwick and Coventry, working with us. We've got the council working with us. We've got MPs, linguists, teachers. So we're just in the middle of the process now of creating that steering group to really, really focus and delegate the tasks that we're working on. Our online presence, our webpage is very nearly, well, it's on its way. It exists. We're just waiting for it to look pretty. It's very kindly being hosted by Warwick University, and their team are helping to develop it, which we are really, 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 really grateful for, because that was one thing that was a big stumbling block. And finally, social media. You can see our little Twitter handle at the bottom, the last one at Cov Languages, and we're also on Facebook. So if you look for Coventry City of Languages on Facebook, you'll find our page. All in the infancy, but we do exist. We are there.
Sorry, Vicky, and also the QR code on the right-hand side at the top, that should take you straight through to the Facebook page if you want to scan that.
Oh, super smart, Anna. Joe will be pleased. Joe will be pleased. Okay, so the future then, where are we going? It hasn't been without its hurdles. Things like contacting people, having the time, because me and Anna both are teachers. We do teach, and it does take up a lot of time. Funding has been a big issue. International Newcastle, in the Newcastle City of Languages, we actually found out are actually a company. So I think this is probably why we found it quite challenging, because me and Anna have been doing it as two individual people, desperately banging pots and pans to get people to listen. And our experience, it's been a learning curve for us, hasn't it, Anna? Business and legal side especially. We do have a lengthy email full of legalese in our inbox to wade through over the weekend. So it's not been without its hurdles. It has taken a long time to get here. But at the moment, what we're doing is we're looking for patrons. So celebrities or minor celebrities, local people. At the moment, we've got people from Parliament and the media on side, just to, to get the message out that we exist and to try and bring things together, which moves us on to the next point. The website then is going to be a single point resource for everybody. So everybody who is a language teacher or interested in languages in any aspect in the city will have one web page where they can find every opportunity. That's kind of our big plan. And finally, we do have an autumn launch that we are going to be discussing next week with the steering group. We're coinciding with the European Day of Languages, hopefully, and also with Godiva, where we will have a stand with Warwick University waving our Cov Languages banners. Please come and see us. I think that's it from me.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah.
This is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your presentation. I mean, people are blown away, and in the chat, a lot of people are saying should be rolled out nationally. Where did you find the time to plan lessons? It's groundbreaking, brilliant stuff. So really, really inspired. You clearly put so much work into this, and it's fantastic to see we are raising the profile of languages across the city in such an amazing way.
We just don't do
now
sleep.
going. Yeah, that's a trick, right? I'm just a little bit conscious of time because I'm aware that some people will need to go at 8 o'clock, but we do still have 3 amazing presenters. We're going to hear from Sylvia Basso next. She's a head of languages in Irkwood Academy, and she has over 16 years of experience. She is a research lead and an Excel examiner. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Over to you.
Hey, right, let's have a look at whether the magic works, because I'm using Jerome's trick of zooming in and zooming out. So first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight. I would like to talk about the implementing of the Rosenshine's principles of instructions in languages classroom specifically, and talking about how we have implemented them in our department specifically. So just to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Sylvia Basso. I'm the head of languages at Arkle Wood Academy, which is in Telford in Shropshire. I'm also SLE, research lead, and GCSE Edexcel examiner. You can find me on Twitter under Sylvia4, and I also write a blog under the name Frau Basto MFL. Right, so let's have a look at Rosenshine principles of instructions. I think it's fair to say that most of the schools, especially this year, have done quite a lot on Rosenshine in the terms of CPD. I think it is quite important to first of all look at memory and how memory works, especially the links between the working and long-term memory and forgetting. Now, I'm not going to talk about it now because it's quite a vast topic. It is quite extensive. So I just wanted to bring it to attention that, you know, when we're planning our lessons, all of this is something we need to consider. So looking at the 10 instructions, well, the first instruction, you know, begin lesson with a short review of previous learning. Again, I think it is fair to say that in languages teaching, it's something we do automatically. I don't think the Rosensheim principles is something brand new, something where we need to reinvent the wheel, because I think we've been doing it and they marry up really nicely with our teaching. It is an excellent framework for lesson planning from my point of view. So looking at review, now in my department, we have always done this because language is so important. The lesson before what we have learned is so important for the lesson after. So we have always reviewed or recalled, but what we've been doing in the past a lot was, you know, the traditional vocabulary testing, or you would have the odd mini test, either translation or little verbal. A lot of it would be more of a testing strategy rather than a learning strategy. So last year during the first lockdown, I have had a lot of time to, in a sense, to research. So I spent a lot of time researching, especially retrieval practice. And it's something which we have now embedded in our curriculum and into our lessons pretty much in every lesson from September. And I think it also, you know, marries up very much with the methodology we are following, which is the Conti EPI methodology. We have started from September, and we are seeing real progress with that. So what is the difference between, you know, what we've been doing in the past and now? Well, retrieval practice, if it is done properly, it's really no stakes or low stakes. So it's not about getting marks into the mark book. It is about finding out for the teacher, but also for the students, what they know and what they don't know, and narrowing the gap. Now, with our testing, for example, or the vocab tests we've been doing in the past, we have noticed that pupils were doing quite well in the vocab test, or even in the end of unit test, you know, the results were good. But when it came to the end of the year exam or end of the course exam, the results weren't that great. So we were noticing students forgotten quite a lot, and we had to almost reteach a lot of stuff. So that's what got me thinking about retrieval practice. So what we're doing now, we're making sure that things are spaced and interleaved, so the topics are interleaved, and we are not having the problem then when we come late, you know, when you introduce a topic, let's say in September, and then you address it again, you know, let's say in May next year, of course, the students will forget a lot if it has not been repeated and recalled, you know, over and over. And obviously the feedback is very important. So just to show you some of the templates we are using Retrieval Roulette, which is based on a spreadsheet by Adam Boxer, and then later on Mr. Also History put quite a lot of games in there. The template you see was actually adapted then by Julia Morris. There are some templates here of our retrieval activities. We have got loads and loads of them because I like to vary the diet. I like, you know, for the students to retrieve different ways, and they also test different skills, whether it is listening, reading, speaking, or writing. You know, some of them might be more vocabulary or chunk based. Some of them might be more where they need to demonstrate the grammar, like the linking knowledge that we have a word and maybe a verb and making a sentence with it. During the remote teaching, I have been using quite a lot of Spiral AC, which is brilliant. As I said, you know, students don't have to have logins or accounts. They just join by the code you share with them. And you can just ask whatever questions you want, especially if you use the quick fire light option, which is zero prep. I'm pretty sure that most of you probably know it already out there because it's been all over the social media. And it's just instant feedback. It's like almost like a mini board. Students don't see the responses until you reveal them. You can return things to to be edited, to be corrected, and you get a lovely report at the end of it. So it works really brilliantly. If you are not following the Conti methodology, other things you can consider as a retrieval, your register routines. Many people do the do it now tasks. You could do verbal drills where you drill verbally question and student give answers, or you're doing tenses. So that will be the first one. Now looking at the second one, again, introduce material in small chunks or small steps with the student practicing each step. Again, nothing new in language learning. Whichever way you decide to present your new knowledge, new material, we do it every day. We use for it sentence builders. Okay, if the sentence builder, like you see the one on the right, is larger, we always chunk it. So we do a section of the sentence builder. We do lots of practice, lots of choral repetition, ensuring pronunciation is secure, reading out loud. We're making sure we are not introducing too much at once, so we don't cause the cognitive overload. Also, if we are doing, anything with sentence structures, maybe sticking to the first person first. The same if you do different tenses, auxiliary verbs, or past participle, which are regular, and then slowly introducing irregular. I'm pretty sure for any experienced teacher, this is something you do automatically now. Maybe if you are a newer teacher, it's something you might want to consider a little bit and think about. So looking at the third one, okay, and this one ties a little bit up also with the sixth one, is ask each student a number of questions and check responses of all students. Now, for this, I absolutely love using mini whiteboards. Again, I'm pretty sure lots of people use mini whiteboards because you can see instantly what your students know, what your students don't know, any misconception, you can give feedback immediately. Something I've been using fairly new is the cold calling, which I'm sure you have heard about because obviously we all hearing about walkthroughs and Tom Sherrington. So something I had to start to do recently, and it's going actually quite well, but I had to spend time first to explain to students why am I doing it and what is the purpose of it, and making sure that they feel safe in the classroom to take the risk, making sure that, okay, if I don't know the answer, it's okay to say I don't know yet, ask somebody else. But then I also always remember to go then back to the original student whom I have not known the answer to see whether they know the answer now. And they are told at the start, this is what I'm going to do. So you got to listen. Think per share, even though we are in a lockdown, the way it's working for us is we have students in a row, so you can always have two students next to each other, obviously facing to the front. They still can jot some ideas themselves and check what their partner has done, compare. Same with the mini whiteboards. I know that some people might raise questions, well, we are in a lockdown, we can't be giving out mini boards. We actually invested in, and our students have mini boards per year group because we have them in bubbles. Say it again better, checking for understanding regularly. Correct my sentence is another task you could do, or change the details in a sentence, so change the time, manner, place, or change the opinion from positive to negative. So there is a lot of questions we can ask. Looking at the fourth one, provide models and worked examples. Again, I think we are very, very good at this in languages. We constantly demonstrate whether it is on a board or whether we're using visualizer or different devices. We provide worked examples. So modeling, how would you go about a task? So if I'm doing written task, I would actually, model it on the board. In a lockdown, what I've been doing also, I've been doing recordings. So I have recording modeled example for my year 10s and year 11s, and they would watch it so they can see what a good one looks like, which one would score high marks, what are the elements of it. Activities like I say, you say, or I start the sentence or the word and you finish it. I often use the sentence builder in different ways as well, that, I utter the sentence and they have to highlight what they hear so they can marry the sound to the written word. But also when they're a little bit more confident with the sentence builder, I might give them a sentence builder without the English translation. And then I would say the sentence in English and they would have to highlight on a sentence builder what it is in let's say, German or whatever your language is. Break the flow, spot the mistake. Delayed copying and dictation, I think, is excellent for building up memory, because it's easy, obviously, to copy from the board, but if student sees a sentence for 10 seconds and then the sentence disappears, to be able to recall and write from memory is much harder. Sometimes I might give them even a longer sentence, but then I allow them to put the pens down, display the sentence again, keep looking what you've got there, what you've got on your paper. Can you add? Can you improve? Can you see what you have left out? Listening pyramids are another brilliant activity. That's something I have seen first time using Marie Masser, and I have just adapted her slides to fit my obviously background, German background. So you got a bit of cultural capital in the background as well with the with the castle. And there's just some examples of, you know, ping pong translation or one pen, one dice, again, copying activity, which is all by Gianfranco Conti, which works really well. And after the review we have done with our students, they're really enjoying the activities. So guide students practice of new material, you know, we're doing it. This is in a Conti receptive processing. So it's basically about recycling the same language or the same patterns or the same chunks, a lot of times in different ways, so they get embedded in long-term memory. So activities we could do is spot the error, missing detail or the difference, one pen, one dice translation, or all sorts of translation. Like you can see on the template, you've got a tangled translation, you've got pyramid translation, we can have faulty translation, mosaic. There is so many variants out there. Rock climbing, sentence puzzles, you could use narrow listenings and reading activities. And this could be led by you as a teacher, or it could be, you know, by students in a pair or in a group work. So looking at the Rosenschein, it is not something we are not doing. So it's not something we have to stop thinking how we can embed it into our subject. 6, as I said, is closely related with the 3, check for understanding. You know, so again, your mini boards, you know, your cold calling. I know that many people are using visualizers or demonstrating goals. You know, what's a good one look like. Monitoring the comprehension or the understanding of the processes, you know, so if it is that you are focusing on different tense, you know, checking with the students, do you understand why we have used this auxiliary verb, or, you know, why we have used that auxiliary verb, why did we put the verb at the end if it is that you're teaching German, for example. Now, what we are looking at this, well, shortly as a department is giving also whole class feedback. Because I think sometimes with the feedback, when we do individual feedback, students are often just interested in what marks did I get or what grade did I get, and they're not necessarily always reading the feedback. So I'm hoping that doing whole class feedback and displaying it, we have a more of a conversation, you know, what went well, what didn't go so well, where we're making the common mistakes, you know, even sharing an exceptional one. I'm hoping that the students will then be, oh, you know, I want to have mine next time shared. I want to have mine as an excellent, you know, example, etc. So again, not something completely new, just maybe certain things to think about, tweak, adapt if we are doing it slightly differently. Now, obtaining high success rates, okay, number 7. I think it's vital to teach students about metacognition, you know, to explain to them how we learn, you know, the learning process. I have met so many students in my 16 years who would tell me often, oh, Miss, I spent ages revising and that result wasn't that great. You know, why did I not do well in the test? And again, it comes down to that, you know, they either cram. We didn't give them opportunities to practice the same things often enough. It could be that they were just reading and they think because I'm reading, I know it, or because I've seen something, I know it. So it's teaching the strategies, the learning strategies, how to actually learn, but also, you know, considering motivation and enjoyment. I think if we are using enjoyable activities and engaging activities, it makes the language learning, which they often perceive as something difficult, really enjoyable and achievable. You know, providing time, giving them time to think, you know, not culture, nurturing the I can culture. So making mistakes is okay. You know, it's fine. That's how we learn. We all make mistakes. We don't know everything. And ensuring that take the risk. If it's not right, if you don't know that yet, I don't know that yet. You know, it's actually working even in my remote teaching. If I do a cold calling and somebody is stuck, I say, oh, Miss, I'm actually stuck here. I'm not sure. So somebody else help and then go back. So there are some examples again of activities, you know, and many of them are really mixed ability classes. They are not just top sets. Right, 8. Provide scaffolds for difficult tasks. I think we are masters at this. You know, we are always scaffolding, we are always giving support, but also we need to make sure that, you know, when we have practiced enough, that we also withdraw this support gradually. So modeled examples, providing templates, you know, you can see some examples here. You've got a first letter translation, so providing the first letter, giving the boxes. This actually worked for me really well remotely as well. We just done an assessment, and children could not use actually Google Translate in a traditional way. They could not just put the sentence into the translator because it would not fit the grid, and they know this type of activity. So you know, they knew I can't just copy and paste. I have to see that the words matching. I'm not saying that they have not used for the odd word here and there, but what they were submitting to me would have gaps for the words they did not know and fill in the words they knew. Structure strips I have seen first time by Wendy Adeniji, I think about 3 years back, in one of her CPD she led. Again, it just scaffolds and helps the GCSE classes how to lay out their extended writing task. Using oral scaffold, this one is again adapted from Gianfranco Conti to support the speaking activity. So we do that, but also knowing when to withdraw it and withdrawing it gradually. So not suddenly we have done a little bit of this and now go off and write, because they won't be able to do that. But I'm sure we all know this anyway. So 9, require and monitor independent practice. You know, for knowledge and skills to become automatic, students do need extensive, successful and independent practice. So they need to be able to practice independently. So if we've done all of that support before, that might be in your sequence, maybe your 6th, 7th, 8th lesson, they should be able then to start working independently. If we have visited same kind of structures and patterns, you know, and then they should be able to model their own language. They should be able to adapt what they have learned. And that fits with the Conti's fluency phases, RNS, which stands for Routinization and Spontaneity. You know, what do ultimately students or anybody who is learning a language, they want to be able to speak it. And I think many students feel that if they can't speak the language, they are not good at it. They're rubbish, you know, they want to be able to produce a language themselves, and they can. I have seen it in some in my classes, especially last year with the year 11s. We were doing round table where I had my foundation and higher, one on each side, and we would have, I don't know, we would take a picture task, and I would have one student say one sentence or start description, and somebody else would be adding on, and it was completely without notes. It was just what they could say. You know, if they could not remember the word, I don't know, people, they used persons, or they would say boy and a girl. So giving them the confidence of doing it, okay? And then you can see some, again, a template of a game, which I quite often play on the sentence builder that we have practiced. And finally, the 10th one, engage students in a weekly and monthly reviews. I mean, that ties again to, you know, your retrieval, making sure it's interleaved spaced. Okay, it could be obviously every lesson you're retrieving. It could be sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 10. Sometimes you might decide further on in your sequence, I'm going to spend 20 minutes on retrieval. Okay, before assessments, you might do a lesson on retrieval. Also looking at end of unit tests, you know, they might be, because it's so fresh. Okay. Making sure that we're interleaving that, giving meaningful feedback, also making sure that we are planning our tests, you know, and our assessments so the children can achieve good results. Right, just references, if anybody's interested a little bit more to read in depth, you know, obviously you got your Rosenshine, your Conti, but I also quite lately been reading Powerful Teaching by Patrice Bain and Pooja Agarwal, who is quite, you know, recognized cognitive scientist. And it was quite eye-opening, you know, what I read there. The templates you have seen on my PowerPoints shared by Florence on Facebook. As I said, the retrieval roulette template by Julia Morris. The slides are from Slides Mania, and listening pyramid idea was from Marine Massé. And thank you very much for listening. You know, if you have any questions, either pop them in a chat, or you can contact me via Twitter or via my blog. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. That was amazing. I mean, people were absolutely blown away by your presentation, saying how interesting it is to see so many practical examples underpinned with research and the amazing combination of the methodology from Rosenshine Principles and Conti. So thank you so much for that. I think there's a lot of interest out there. We'll definitely take you up on the offer of running a webinar if you're happy to do that. And we're now going to hear from the wonderful Jerome. He is a head of department in a prep school in Rosefair, and he's been teaching French for over 20 years. He's got a great presentation today on using Microsoft in MFL.
Hello there, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to be speaking about the wonderful immersive reader. So it's just a short presentation. I'm going to be doing a lengthier presentation on next week on the All London Tilt webinar, but this is like a short and sweet one. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And okay, this is nice and simple. I'm going to be talking about the immersive reader, which I think is amazing for not only people with dyslexia and problems when you teach English, but I think it's super useful also when you actually work with languages. So immersive reader is used obviously in all Microsoft project, but you can find it normally in what you have got in Word and OneNote, Edge, Flipgrid, Teams, Outlook. Also, it's all there. It's hidden in little places for Outlook. You have to find it, but it's very, very good. And obviously, it's all the apps that lots of people know, Wakelet, Thinking, Deck Toys, which is getting super popular at the moment. Deck Toys, Neopod, Pear Deck, and Bunzi that we all know. But obviously, there's, I think it's about another 20 or 30 apps who actually use the immersive reader. Very briefly, where do you find it? It's quite straightforward. In Outlook, you have to go and click on a ... and you get the immersive reader, so you can read your mails and stuff. And in Words, you have to go into View and find the immersive reader. But let's do a demo. It probably will be so much better to actually see the way it works. And I can go through the motions with you. So it's not what I wanted to show there. I need to go back onto, I'm going to be on Word Online to make my life slightly easier. So I hope you can you see my screen, yeah? Is that all right? Yeah, thank you. I can see some nodding, which is perfect. Thank you very much. Right, you go into View, and you can see that I've got a poem in French. It could have been absolutely anything. Later on, I've got something else, but I click on Immersive Reader. I'm gonna move this away so it's not in the way. Okay, so I should have shared my sound actually. Well, I've been probably so much better. I can never do with this stuff, so I'm going to stop the sharing and I'm going to start again. Apologies about that one. Share and advance and computer audio is what I want. And I start again with screen, basic, and hopefully it's going to work. Anyway, see what happens. And that could be better if it was somewhere else. There we go. So if you can see that the text is looking different. And if I click here, I should have. I hope you heard that. Did you hear it? Have any sound, anyone?
No, we didn't hear any sound,
no. I can never do that stuff onto. How do I share the sound on the share sound? It's written here. There we go. So it should be working. Anyway, so you can see the writing is different. It's much bigger. And now, since I share my sound, it should
Hugo.
be.
Avril ouvre à deux battants le printemps.
Okay, the voice is really good. The accent is really, really good also. And the way you can have a look at the text is slightly different afterwards. So if your text preferences, you can make it bigger. If you have people with visual impairment, you can make the text bigger. You can increase the spacing. It's already spaced out already on this one to make things easier to read. You can change the text. Calibri is usually the one that you use, but you can use that one. And Comic Sans is usually the ones you use with little ones. the children for the shapes of the letters. If you have people also with issues with seeing things, dyslexia, you can change the color of the background, which is quite useful too. And I think that's a great little thing. So it's just one little option there with the text references. On this side here, you got a grammar option. That is very useful for languages. If you want to have a look at the text and say, well, now let's find all of the nouns into our text. And if I just highlight this, it's going to be finding all of my nouns. If I want to show the labels also there, going to have a little N on top. And so you could be reviewing the text, and after that, you say, well, how can you find me the verbs also in there? You can see it's finding all of the verbs in your text. You can change the colors. These are default colors, but it's up to you after to decide what you want to do. Super useful, and yeah, pretty amazing the way you can deal with this stuff. When you move on to the next topic, this is where it's getting quite exciting. For the people who got also some problems with reading, which is pretty good. So you have the little nifty thing here where you can just have just the one line. So when the person is going to be reading.
Printemps. L'été le suit et déploie.
Okay, so you have just the one line, and so you can concentrate on that only line you can see here. So this way you can work also on the pronunciation. If I go back to reading preference, I could also have 3 lines if I don't want to have just the one line. Pretty good. I have also the picture dictionary, which is superb also. If I need to be clicking on something, I can see the picture dictionary is on. I click on it, and I have not only little icons there, but also have the translation into English. And if I click on it, it's telling me also what it is in English. So you know it.
Terre.
And terre is repeating what he said in French. So that picture dictionary is there. Yeah, I can get also that off. I can change the language into something else if I wanted to. There's about 70 languages that people can use here. And what I think is also very, very useful, if you need to change all of your documents, because let's say, like in my school, for example, we have some Spanish children coming to we have some Chinese children. And it's very, very useful for them if they don't really speak the lingo, especially if it's in English. They need to work on history and geography and things like that. I'm talking about slightly different from languages. The languages obviously works very, very well too. You can translate the whole document into whatever language you want. So you can see all my poems. I'm gonna probably get off the focus there. All my poem is translated now into English, and it's pretty useful to understand the meaning here of the poem. I'm using this immersive reader in Wakelet at the moment. I've created a little poetry competition, and I've got luckily 40 schools now taking part in that all over the world. The latest one actually is in Africa, which is amazing. I got a contact yesterday, and in order for the children to be able to be pronouncing these words properly, they've got the immersive reader. I think it's very, very useful for them to know how to pronounce things. This way they can work online by themselves, and obviously you can have the support of the teacher once they're home. Another very, very nifty thing, and I will stop there after that, if you go into Microsoft Teams and you go into Class Notebook, I have, thanks to an app on the phone called Microsoft Lens, which is very, very amazing. You can take a picture and of anything. Obviously, it's like an OCR, and just create it, and you can send it off anywhere you want. Very, very quick, very, very easy. And you can, if you pop it into OneNote or here Teams, because obviously this is Class Notebook, you can actually go onto this OCR thing, and with the immersive reader is actually going to be reading the PDF. So that's pretty amazing. So if I go into view, I've got my PDF. This is an article. This was actually a text of an exam. They have to answer questions in this. I think that was a Winchester exam or something. So if I go into immersive reader, same thing. It's just going to be picking up the PDF, and it's going to be reading it in French and with the right accent, and you can still pick up the verbs, and also they're exactly the same setup there. I could be continuing that forever. There's many other ways to be doing that. I wanted to speak about Excel also, but I don't think we have enough time really. So that's me. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Aaron. That was absolutely fantastic. There are a couple of questions in the chat. People were wondering if it can be used in Google Classroom 2, and
So
also if it works
Immersive Reader is a Microsoft product, sadly. So there's not it's not with Google, not yet anyway. They don't have the equivalent yet. They
And it will
probably have
also-
some things. You obviously you have lots of apps. Sorry, Paola. They probably have lots of apps that can dictate Dragon Dictation or other apps that you can actually. Joe is making a face. Am I wrong, Joe?
No. All I was going to say was there's a Chrome extension called Helper Bird, which is HELPERBIRD, Helper Bird, and if you right-click any text, it will then say Helper Bird, then Tools, then Immersive Reader. So Immersive Reader is built with it. I don't know how they've done it, but it's built within that Chrome extension, Helper Bird.
So you could be using that.
Yeah,
with
in Google Classroom. Yeah, so it's Chrome extension. It runs in Chrome. So I would recommend doing. I've done that in Flippity. So with Flippity Randomizer, when the options come up, you just select all the text that comes up. You then right-click, click Helper Bird, Tools, and Immersive Reader, and then exactly what Jérôme just showed us will then come up.
Okay, I'm writing it down. I'm taking notes, Joe, as
That's
usual.
right. Helper Bird. HELPERBIRD. There we are.
Perfect.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Really appreciate that. And that's why I love show and tells. You always learn so much from each other. It's absolutely brilliant.
Every day.
I'm really sorry that we're overrunning a little bit, but we do have Annalise Jaffe, who's going to talk to us a little bit about engagement, which I'm really excited to hear about. She's a really passionate teacher of languages in Coventry. She's the director of languages across a multi-academy trust and a big fan of research-based practice. So over to you, Annalise.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Quite nervous if my words don't come out very well. Hopefully you'll understand what I mean. I'll keep it quite short because I know we're running over. When obviously I thought of what kind of to do, we were all kind of definitely doing remote teaching, and now things have changed. So the ideas were really just to kind of give you some ideas for remote teaching. So hopefully they'll be useful for you over the next sort of coming days. Not long now, unfortunately. Well, fortunately is what I meant to say. Right, okay, so I hope I'll get this right. Right, so I want to share with you Classroom Screen. I don't know how many of you used it before, but I found it really useful in terms of remote teaching. So you can see my Classroom Screen here. It's a really great way just to bring things together and have lots of useful tools. Now, Classroom Screen is free to use, but you can't save your screens. If you want to save your screen, there is a paid option. So this is how I set mine up. So if, for example, I had my homework this week, you kind of can see the Quizlet there. What I would do is press the QR code, and it would have the QR code comes up here. I would move it into the little box, and then you can type in here the address that you want, and it will create that Quizlet code, the QR code, sorry, for Quizlet. So you can do that for any sort of website you want to use it for, which I find really useful. Here you can see I've just got a random student name generator. I've used Wheel of Names, so if I make it a little bit bigger, you can see. So it's the Wheel of Names here, which is again another free website. If you save it, it will save, or if you sign in, it will save your student names. So you can go back to it once again. You can customize it. It has music. It has a certain amount of time you can do it on. So I've got it up here. So if you go into customize, you can choose how you want it to look in essence. Here I'm going to show you what GymKit is if you haven't used GymKit recently. That's something my students absolutely love. So that's kind of the main essence of it. If I come down here though, you can see I have a dice feature. So I can have 1, 2, or 3 dice. So you're playing games. Some of the things that people are showing today, like sentence builders and those sort of things, a really great way to use that, especially remote teaching wise. You can draw things, add text. You can add symbols. So when they come in, you can see that you could put here, for example, you want them to come in silence. You want them to whisper. So I think especially for your younger learners, primary school especially, I think this would be really, really good. You've got a traffic light system. So obviously you can let students know. Timers, you've got stopwatches. So it's quite a wide range really of different things that you've got, and you can customize it. If I go to my home page here, you can see there the different ones that I've got. So just touching on what people were saying earlier, there's a cultural capital. You can see here, if I move these, oh, I can't move it. Anyway, there we go. My internet's working a little bit slow today. So you can see, if I try and move it, there we go. So you can see different things there. So you can save your screens, you can save it for different classes, different moments. You can do polls, you can make groups. There's lots and lots of things that you can do. You can create collections of different things. So it keeps data as well, realistically. So you can do all sorts of things. What I wanted to quickly finally show you, and I was going to do it as, I can't get this to move. Uh-oh, hang on. Let me close some of my tabs then. Hopefully it will come across. There we go. Is gym kit. So gym kit is something that we started using recently, and students are obsessed with gym kit. So what I'll do is I only do it for a couple of minutes because I'm conscious of time. So I'll show you how it first of all works. So if any of you have Quizlet, you create a Quizlet set and you come onto here and you go to the export. You can copy the text from here and you'll go into a gym kit. And if you create a gym kit, so if I go back to the home page, for example, for the moment, and I go to new gym kit, put the name in there. And then you go to create with flashcards and you go to import flashcards. You can type text in there and it creates it. So it literally is instantaneous. It takes seconds to do it. It doesn't take very long at all. And then I'm going to show you exactly how it works now. So we're going to have a quick play with it. So we'll go to play live. And this is the important part that a lot of people kind of want to get their head around. I trust no one is the one I was going to do. We had a bit more time. It is like, I don't know if any of your students have heard of it, Among Us. It's that game, that massive craze that people are all going on about. And my students, every single lesson they come on and say, Miss, we're playing Among Us, Miss, we're playing Among Us. And the kind of rule is, do your homework well, you get to play Among Us. And it really gets those disengaged students coming on board. So you've got classic mode, team mode, you've got lots and lots of modes. And what I really love about Gym Kit is the people who have created this resource are really, if you look into like the different things they do, they're always innovative, they're making new things, they're really a fantastic, I think, team of 3 people, I think it is, that create it. It's really great. So what we'll do is we'll do a classic mode, okay? And you can see here the different options that you get. If you assign it to a class, you can track progress. So even if students think that they're, playing against each other, we actually get to track progress. You can do that anyway, but it tracks it per class. And I'll show you that you can find out the misconceptions and those sort of things, to inform your future teaching. So you can either do time, you can do race or all in. I tend to do time. You can start off with cash. They can allow students to check the answer straight away, which I find is more important because it means the next time it comes up, they've learned, and it's that instant feedback, really. The clapping at the end, join in late. So the way that I teach is that I will have a gym kit to start the lesson, and students will, as they're coming in, they will start the gym kit. What it really, I think, helps to do is to try and get those students coming in on time, or to come in early even. I have students come in a couple of minutes early into my lessons now because they know they're going to get more money if they come in earlier, because it all works in money. You can have clean power-ups. I'll take off the clean power-ups for now. We'll do just 2 minutes just to give you an idea. So press continue. So if you want to go to gymkit.com/live, what I always do then is I copy it from here. I don't know if I can get the chat up when I'm sharing. Can I get the chat up? Maybe not. Yes, I can. And then I always copy it into my chat. Okay. So if you want to have a go, and well done, Charlotte, you're first in. Positive point to you, phone call home. Paola, brilliant. Abby, fantastic. So again, people, and obviously don't forget, in a minute I'm going to start it, but there is a join in late, so you can join in late. So what you're going to do when this comes up is you're going to just click, and you'll earn money as you go through. When you get a question right, it's going to say that you can go to the shop. And when you go to the shop, you can buy things like you can times your money by 2, you can times your money by 4, those sort of things. What the most important thing I would say to do is to be able to look at the the fact that you can freeze people, you can take people's money, you can burn people's money, and those sort of things, because that's what's going to make it really competitive on the leadership board. So you've only got 2 minutes. So my suggestion would be to answer as many questions as you can, then go to the shop as much as you can and try and buy things. So hopefully this experience lets you see what the students can see, and hopefully you can see why they love it so much. So we'll start the game. If you're still not in yet, you can still get in because I've allowed the join in late. So it started, and what you can see as we're going through is you can see what's happening. So at the moment, nobody's done anything yet. Oh, brilliant. Leah's upgraded already. Abby's already taken the lead. You can see there the money. So I just literally run it as like a horse race. So Charlotte's upgraded the money per question. Lisa's upgraded. Senorita Lopez has taken the lead. Jane Moore has upgraded the insurance. You know, keep going, but nobody's being mean yet. I see people burning people's money, people freezing people out. Let's see, okay? Always try. Richard's taking the lead. Brilliant, Baines won. You're the first person. You've iced Richard, which means Richard now can't play for a certain amount of time. Got a minute left. Paola's in the lead. Aurora's iced Abby, love it. Okay, we're all upgrading, which is great. Let's try use our skills against each other. There should be a tab in the middle tab, which allowed you to ice people and burn people. Charlotte's iced Paola, well done. It always shows you the leadership board as well. So try and ice and get rid of the top person. Now, as a teacher, I can click on and I can reduce people's money. So I'm going to reduce the top people's money. I'm going to freeze people. So I'm going to freeze Paola. I'm going to take SJ's money. I'm going to take Nat's money. Nat's in twice. Nat wants double the fun. Okay, so you can clearly see your high retaining students that are doing really well. You can kind of, you know, really take their money off them. So Lee at the bottom here, I'm going to increase the money towards the people at the bottom. I'm going to help them out. You've got 17 seconds, 15, 14, 13, 12. Brilliant. You've got to start using your powers against each other if you want to win. Lee's the top, CJ's second. Lissy Bo's third, Chris is fourth. Lissy Bo's come to second now, Lee's first. And that's the end of it. CJ is third, Lissy Bo is second, and Lee is first, okay? So you can go down the leadership board and you can see all this money even, sorry. So if I go to view report at the end of that, and this is where you kind of get your information, you can see the students were having lots and lots of fun, but I can now see my student by student feedback. I can see percentages. I can see, you know, what sort of things went wrong. So I can go into every minute information, but the students just think they're having fun. They just see it as, you know, really great time. But actually you can start to see a class overview. You can see a student overview. You can see a question breakdown. So I can start to see that actually I don't need to look at y tú and hola, but what I probably do need to look at is hasta ahora. Okay. So yeah. That's it. I'm conscious of time, so I won't show the rest of it, but hopefully you can see how you can get a classroom screen and you can have all your favourite bits on there, but actually keeping students engaged and learning, but having fun at the same time.
I'm really proud to have come up fourth. Thank you, Annalise. What a fantastic way to finish our show and tell. We're having a little bit of fun on GimKit. I use it in my classes and my students absolutely love it. They go crazy, particularly the Don't Trust No One version inspiring Among Us and the Humans versus Zombies. It's absolutely a winner with students. So thank you so much for that, and thank you very much to everyone that has joined us today. I'm sorry we went a little bit over time, but I hope that you enjoyed the presentations as much as I did. Thank you to everyone that joined through Zoom, but also those that are watching on YouTube. It was absolutely brilliant. And thank you so much to all the presenters for giving up their time and sharing their expertise with us today. Follow them on Twitter, ask questions, and I hope to see you all very soon in many more events from the West Midlands ALL. Hasta la vista. Adiós, gracias. Thank you.